Do you know? Do you want to see how to make this table? You have to watch my video. What do you think? You'll do it? All right. Well, I hope you like it. I've got the cut list here in front of me on my iPad, and I'm going to start cutting these 60-degree angles first to make the table top. I think this is a unique design. I'm hoping that Jacob likes it. And these, in the comments, it said you needed more 1x4s than in the directions. So we'll see. The miter saw is right behind the camera, so I'll need to switch things around and show you how I have that set up. So I've zeroed out my angle gauge. And there it is, 30 degrees. That's exactly what I'm going for. I used this end because it's got this big knot in it. When you buy hard lumber, especially hardwood lumber, it's best to buy more than you need because you're going to find nuts and things like that in it. So I'm going to cut the rest of these and show you what it looks like as I lay it out on the table. Well, this is what the top looks like, and I'm pretty happy with it. I've got some gaps in here. I'm going to chamfer the edge of each one of these, and that will do a couple of things. It'll soften it, of course, but it'll also give it some definition. This is the original size, and I consulted with Karen. She thought it should be a little bit bigger, so I had these cut off, and I'm going to frame that on the outside, and I think that'll make it look a lot better. So that's going to throw off all these other measurements. This end was supposed to be 10 inches, and now it's about 12 and a half, but that's okay. I can just make adjustments. All the other cuts are on treated lumber, and I don't want to cut the treated lumber in the shop here, and it's raining outside. So I'm going to call this good for today. Tomorrow, it should be nice out, and I'll take my miter saw outside and make those cuts on the treated lumber. So that's going to be it for the day, and I got to get ready for track practice. I do want to mark this to make sure I got it right. Well, I think I have some explaining to do. This morning, first thing, I put a chamfer on all the edges. Then I stained it, and I made these Craig hole sockets for the ends. On the original plans, it said to flip it over and drill these from the inside, but anytime you add a hole to the inside or above it, you add a chance of rot in the future. Now, this is cypress, and I've had our cypress picnic table. I take it in the winter. I've put the bottom of it is treated lumber, but I've put 2 new tops on it. So this, no glue on this. This is going to be completely fixable, and it has my lifetime guarantee. By that I mean, if I'm still alive, I'll fix it. Not Jacob's lifetime. So I'm ready for the ends. For that, I'll use pocket screws. These are cut at 30 degrees, so I've got my band clamp on here so I can kind of maneuver it back and forth. And I'm ready to go. I still have my gloves on. I stained this before lunch, which was about an hour and a half ago, and it is still a little I don't know, greasy kind of thing. I don't want to, I just don't want to get my hands all messy here. All right, I'm going to take my glasses off for this because I want to line this up pretty good. In fact, I don't even want to do that side. I'm going to do it where I have more light. So, it looks like I need to put the band back on. Well, no harm done. I had these marked at one time. I don't think it makes a big difference, but I know they all fit really well. The other advantage of not putting any glue in is that if it is wrong, I can, when I turn it over, I can fix it. But I'm pretty happy with where these are. I'm putting 2 screws in each board. And I'm going to do that all the way around. So when I get that finished, I'll show you what goes next. All right, so I've got the ends on. I still can't pick this up because there's nothing supporting this inner part. They used 1 screw in each piece of wood. I'm going to use 2. I've got my drill set, so it's not going to go all the way through. I'm going to pre-drill these, and I'm going to get the first couple in place. I probably don't need to pre-drill, but it never hurts. Well, it's morning number 3. The tabletop is completely finished. Remember, I can only work on this half a day. It's really solid, and it's starting to get heavy. The plans call for 18-inch legs. That just seems way too short for me. I measured the table I made for the craft table for the kids, and it is 23 inches. So 22 and a half. I think I'm going to make these legs 24 because they splay out. That'll bring it down to about 22 or 23 inches. And it's cut at a 15-degree angle, and it's more pressure-treated lumber. And so it's respirator on, earmuffs, eyeglasses, the works, and it's outside so I don't get that treated lumber in my shop here. One note. You might notice that this joint is really tight. When I put on that 2x4 down there, it wanted to come in at an angle. So to fix that, I used this and cut it just a little bit long to push that out to 90 degrees. So that's why that joint is so much tighter than the others. It's not going to make any difference now that that's 90 degrees. I really struggled to get these things flat. I tried clamps, I tried clamping, and everything moved. So my solution to get them flat were pocket holes. And now I'm going to put a couple of 3-inch, 2.5-inch screws in each one, and eventually this will all get bolted together. So all these legs require a bolt, and I'm going to use a carriage bolt. I think in the original they didn't use a carriage bolt, but there's no reason not to. So to measure these, I have the 3/4 inch, and then I put a little 1/4 inch, and I have a mark about 3/8 of an inch off of this angle, So I'm going to drill a hole all the way through right there. I can't drill this from the inside because it doesn't fit. So I have to drill it from the outside, and I want to try to keep it as parallel as possible. And I'm not really worried about blowout on the back side, but I do want to try to keep this parallel. So that went all the way through. Now from the back side, inside, I've got this set so that it's going to countersink the nut and the washer. So I'll drill that from the inside. It's a little hard to see it, but there's my through hole right there. And I have two 3-inch or 2.5-inch deck screws right there. So this isn't exactly at, this is a little bit of an angle, but I don't think it's going to affect it much. I would have liked to have used a Forstner bit here, but it was just too close to these holes that I have made for the Kreg screw. So now having that hole, I'm going to drill all the way through with a 3/8-inch drill bit because that's the size of the bolt I'm using. And that should pretty much follow this hole. The carriage bolt through. These carriage bolts have a square shoulder, and what you do there is drive that in and drive the square shoulder in, and that locks it in place. Now, to lock the washer and nut in place, I'm going to use a little bit of lock thread. This is the blue. Just takes a couple of drops. What that will do is lock this nut on here, and I can snug this up until I see the head of the carriage bolt come up tight. And that's what I'll do to all 6 of these legs. So it's a multi-step process. So it's morning number 4. I have it all mocked up here. And here's a lesson, if you haven't learned it already. If a person presents you with a cut list, it's best not to cut everything ahead of time. So my 1x4 evidently was not as wide as the 1x4 in the instructions because my table is slightly smaller. My measurements are completely different now that I've changed the tabletop and the leg. So I have to mock this up to get everything where I want it to be so I don't waste lumber. And that's what I'm doing now. And in the picture, it appears that his seat is a lot wider than mine will be. I didn't think I had enough cypress left, so I made a trip to the hardware store yesterday, and all they had were 1x10s. When you buy hardwood lumber, it's not always dressed out on 4 sides. When you go to the big box stores, you have 2 planed edges and the top and the bottom. Not true at all hardwood stores. This one was actually 9.5 on one end and 9 3/4 on the other. So it had 3 dress sides, a top and a bottom and 1 edge. So I will need to clean up the other edge and make it uniform in length. So I figured out from those rough measurements that if I cut, I had a 2x4, 8 feet long. If I cut that in half, it's going to be long enough. And who would guess it? I had this piece of scrap and this old piece of scrap, and this is 9.5 inches. So now I can mark this up exactly where I need it, cut these angles, and I think we're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and bolt this together because I can always take the bolts off. So that will put me exactly where I need to be when I cut these ends off. So when I come back, these will be bolted together to the legs, and I'll know exactly where to cut my 1x10 for the seat. And I'll also put a 2x4 in this space here. But I'm not going to cut that until I cut these. Well, on the home stretch, got all these members there. I'm really happy with the fit. I have outlined the seat pattern here, and I will rough cut this line and either sand it to the line or use a pattern bit to cut it flush. So here I've temporarily secured it with a couple of screws. I have this 1/4 inch flush cutting bit